guys, so today we're going to be talking about a cheap way to do communications, radios, and how to set it up. Hopefully this is a pretty quick video. This actually could be the third time I've tried recording this. Every single time I've messed up. I'm old. Oh, cut me some slack, I guess. Anyways, so today we're going to be talking about that. On here, there's three different types of radios that I have set out in front of you. So you can kind of get a good idea of the things that we've tested out and see what kind of works best for you. Everything on here is going to be a compromise, so just know that going into it. If you want everything to work perfectly and you don't have to cut any corners or make any compromises, just go ahead and buy, the Peltor headsets that will attach to your helmets, and they got the mic built into it. They're shielded from frequency so you don't get feedback, all that kind of different stuff. Get yourself a ham license, get yourself a nice radio, all that kind of stuff so you can use it. I didn't want to go through all that hassle or spend all that money, so this is what I came up with. Me and Rhett did test out this radio here specifically, which I'll show you in a second. And it's just a cheap family radio that you can buy off Amazon. It's got the standard, I think it's like 24 channels, something like that. I don't remember how many channels are on there, but we tested them out to see how far it worked in an urban environment where there's lots of buildings in the way and inside of buildings. And then we also tested it out just kind of out in the open, say your standard town where there's, a few houses here and there, but it's mostly open, or say like a wooded area or fields, whatever. And we tested that out as well, see kind of how far it went, just so you can kind of see what kind of radio maybe you want to buy, or if you want to buy this one specifically. So one thing I will say, again, if you get a radio like this Baofeng or something like this, you're going to need a radio license, a ham license. They're relatively easy from what I've seen to get. They're just time consuming. You just have to pay money. So it's not something I wanted to do. So just know that if you buy something like this, you cannot transmit on there without the license, but you can turn on, listen to different frequencies. Just know you can't transmit on it. So again, not a lawyer, you do you. But anyway, so on this video, I'm going to be talking specifically mostly about this radio here. So this is the one we use the most. It's a Midland. It's a GXT model. I want to say it's around $50, $60, something like that on Amazon. It uses a battery pack that's on the back here, and it charges. You can also use AAA batteries on here, which is nice. The range on this thing is not super far. So the range on it inside an area where, say, there's a bunch of buildings or an urban environment, and again, we tested that, it's probably about 5, maybe 600 yards, something like that at the most. And that's not uncommon for radios, because even something like this Baofeng or even something like this Motorola, which I use for work, they won't transmit or receive in certain buildings. Like if it's an all metal building, it kind of acts like a Faraday cage kind of thing, and it doesn't allow frequencies in or out. So just know that's a problem in most urban environments. Anyway, so knowing that and its limitations, I was surprised on how well this thing worked. In a environment where it's mostly fields or, kind of open areas, where Rhett actually went up to an elevated position, it was probably around, I'd say it was around 3 or 4 stories up. And then I drove about 3 miles and it was still working clear as day since he was in an elevated position. Whenever he went down to ground level, it only worked out to 1.5, 2 miles, something like that. So I can't see myself being really that far away from somebody. And if you wanted to, on the cheap, you could have a third person acting kind of as a relay tower and put them up somewhere really high elevation, and they could actually receive what you're saying. They could, then I guess forward that message to the next person. So if you had someone in your group that, you don't have any other use for, hey, use them as a repeater. So that's something. What we did for this is, because we didn't want to, one, if you use a pouch like this, which this is just a Condor pouch, I think it was like $10. It was super cheap. Anyways, this radio fits in it just fine, but this Baofeng with a normal radio fits in it just fine. But something larger like this, or the Baofeng with the larger battery pack on it, won't fit in something like this, which I'll show you here in a little bit. But we put it down in there. But whenever you put it down inside here, you can't access the push to talk buttons, or it's really hard to. And plus, you'd be kind of talking to your waist, which is weird. So what we did is we used a hand mic, which I'm used to using at work. That's what this one is. Got a hand mic and looped it through the molly, so it was kind of tucked out of the way. You don't want it all loosey-goosey getting hung up on your stuff. And then I clipped it on right here so I can talk. Now, if I want to be all incognito, discreet, don't want people to hear what I'm saying, this specific model hand mic has a little audio port right here where you can plug in any kind of audio. You could plug in your earbuds from your iPhone, so if it still has that type of jack, it'll plug into it. You can use something like this, which I'll talk about. I guess I'll go ahead and talk about now. So if you have something like this, which is like, what you see Secret Service wearing, or we use these for work. This one's actually mine, but we use something similar to this for work, for events. And whenever, you don't want your radio just blaring during an event, you want to be able to hear it, or if it's super loud, this will allow you to hear. So you could use something like this, plug it in, and it worked just fine. But since we have EarPro attached to our helmet, and there's this little audio jack right here on the Howard lights, I thought, maybe I can get this to work. And it does, and it also doesn't. So let's talk about that. It does work in that whenever someone's talking to you and you're receiving, you can hear through these things just fine. The sound quality is fine. You can hear them as they're talking. I usually wear double ear pro, so I wear phone plugs underneath these. And with that, you can still hear if you turn them all the way up, but just know it's kind of soft at that point. So they're not super, super loud through here, so just be aware of that. If you're going to be using these, you probably can't wear double ear pro. But the way we connect them is we just got an audio port jack right here, and the straight one goes down and it comes back up through the molly. I looped it through here, and you want to make sure you get a 90 degree. Hopefully you can see. You can't. Now you can. This is a 90 degree little port on the other end. You want to get a 90 degree one because whenever you plug it in to this port here, you don't want this giant cable sticking out. So try to keep it as low profile as possible so it doesn't snag. And then you also want to leave yourself enough slack here, enough cable here to where you can move your head freely around, once you plug it in. You don't want to, jerk your head to the side and, choke yourself or rip off your helmet, whatever. Anyway, so that's what we went with. Now, I will say with this Midland radio, I don't know if they have a new model or this is an old model or this is a new model, but they have two different hand mics that are the same exact model number, but one has an audio port like this and the other one doesn't. So whenever the first time, this is actually the third one I ordered. The first two I ordered, they shipped me a different one, but again with the same model number and everything, but it didn't have the audio port. So I had to return it, even though they had a picture of this one on, I think it was Amazon that I ordered from the other two times. So I ordered from Amazon. It had a picture of this one. They sent me, again, it was the right model number, but it was the wrong, either an old or a new design, and it didn't have the audio port. So that was annoying. So I sent it back. I ordered another one off eBay, same thing. And so finally I ordered one off eBay, but it was, I think it wasn't like a business or something. It's someone who had just had one. And this one, they took a physical picture of this. And so I knew it was the correct one before I ordered it. So if you order a hand mic like this one, just know that you got a pretty good chance of getting the wrong one because, again, they've updated their models. So what I would do is order one off eBay and ask the seller for a actual picture of the item they're sending you. So you make sure to get one with a port. Now, if you don't care about being discreet, and plugging into an ear set or something, that's fine. Get whichever one you want. Doesn't really matter. But that's what we went with, and it plugs in just fine. That all works fine whenever you plug it in. It works fine. You can hear. Now, the problem with this is whenever you transmit these EarPro, and I'll show you these because the helmet ones are kind of annoying to pick up behind camera. These aren't shielded from all those radio frequencies, so kind of like if you have ever gotten a text or a phone call or something when your phone is right next to the speakers at your computer or a cheap set of speakers, you get that kind of feedback clicking electronic noise. The exact same thing happens with this. So the closer this is to your EarPro, the louder it gets. So whenever it's down here and you're transmitting, you can kind of hear the clicking, but it's not super annoying. But if this was mounted higher up somewhere, it would be super loud and obnoxious. With something like this Baofeng or something like this Motorola, these are significantly more powerful signal. So anywhere on my plate carrier, no matter where I put it, you get that feedback. So if you're using something like the Baofeng or any of that, you pretty much can't use these Howard lights with it. Now, you could try to mount it maybe on your belt farther down or something like that. You might be able to get away with it. I haven't tried it that far down, but even on the bottom of the plate carrier, it's still pretty loud. So a way to get around that is, one, you can just turn off your EarPro whenever you want to transmit, which is kind of annoying, defeats the purpose because then you can't receive. Or you can turn it all the way down, transmit, then turn it back up. Again, it's kind of ghetto, but, it's cheap. So what do you expect? So a way around that, because again, the EarPro itself is what's creating that noise, is you can use something like this, or you could use pretty much anything, but this I think works best because you don't get that feedback. But you can just loop this. Again, this is kind of like, what the Secret Service use. We use these for events and stuff. But you can loop this around your ear and then put the ear pro on top of it. And just like sunglasses or regular glasses, as long as you got gel cups or a decent, set, or it's hot outside where these things are moldable, it'll go around that just fine. It won't break the seal. So you can use something like that, and that will get around the whole frequency noise problem with any of these things. So hopefully this gave you some ideas of things you can do. This is not the end-all be-all. This is just one way to do it, and we found it works for us. Now, how waterproof all this stuff is, your guess is as good as mine. We haven't actually taken it out in the rain or anything. It says it's basically moisture resistant, like rainproof for most of the stuff. What that means, who knows? But I'm not going to go through all my stuff in a giant puddle and just see what happens. So, but again, if you guys have any questions or comments or specifics about the model numbers or anything like that, I'd be happy to let you know. I'll try to put it all in the description below. But we appreciate y'all. Give us a like and a subscribe. That helps the YouTube algorithms, help people find the videos. Again, hopefully you find this kind of stuff useful. And if you have any video ideas, we're always taking your comments and suggestions under consideration. And if we have the stuff that you're talking about, then we'll go ahead and do a review on it, because most of the stuff we use all the time. But again, hopefully you like this, and we appreciate y'all watching. All right, have a good one.